Hylas has suggested, maybe in accordance with a common sense view, that there must be something like material substance that is what holds together all of those qualities that stuff has. So in a tulip, right, there must be some substance that actually is a certain color, a certain size, a certain shape. The same way with an apple, right? We think that there must be something, some underlying apple that is itself red and round and sweet and smells a certain way, all that stuff. Berkeley's going to say, no, there's not. And in fact, you don't need anything like that to hold all those qualities together into one thing. We don't need substance because we already have minds. So here's how this is going to work. Berkeley is going to propose what is, I think, a sort of crazy view, that nothing can exist unless it is perceived or conceived by a mind. Why would we think something crazy like that? Well, it seems like an implication of this is when you leave the room and you don't think about it, that the room that you were just in, if there's nobody else in it, there's no one perceiving it, would cease to exist, right? If existence actually depends on being in a mind. But maybe this isn't so crazy, right? Maybe these substances that we think exist, maybe those are just minds. We know that qualities, right, only exist in minds, according to Berkeley, things like heat, taste, smell, etc. So if there's not a mind present, then those qualities aren't there, right? If there's no mind around near a fire, right, then there's no one there to feel the heat. There's no one there to see the colors, no one there to see the light, etc. Well, maybe there's something plausible to this. We've denied, Berkeley's denied, and maybe we agree with him, maybe not, that there's anything more to objects than what we can sense about them. Right, so there's nothing more, Berkeley says, to the apple than that it's red, that it's round, that it's sweet, all that stuff we can sense about it, right? All of these immediate sensible qualities. So if there's nobody around to do the sensing, the qualities don't exist, right? Because those qualities are all in our heads. They're not actually out there in the world. They're not actually out there in the apple. So if the redness, the roundness, the sweetness, all that stuff don't have a mind to exist in, they just don't exist, period. Right? If the qualities don't exist, and all that there is out there in the world are qualities, then nothing exists unless there's a mind around to perceive it. Now Berkeley's going to consider an objection. Wait a minute, you might think. Can't we think of things that have no one perceiving them? So think about a tree out there in the middle of nowhere. No one else is there with this tree to perceive it. Can't it still exist? Of course it can, right? There are plenty of trees out there in the world that no one's perceiving right now. Berkeley's going to say no, because as you're picturing this tree, you're perceiving it. Right? You're not doing it with your senses, but it's at least in your mind, right? So this tree could still exist because it's in a mind, right? There's a mind that has ideas about it. It's enough, he thinks, to think about or remember something to keep it in existence, right? In the same way that if I ate an apple earlier today, or if I just saw an apple earlier today, it probably still exists if I think about it, right? I can still reflect on those qualities that the apple has, the redness, the roundness, the sweetness, etc. But, right, there are actually some trees in the world, for example, that no one is perceiving right now, that no one is thinking about right now. So why do those still exist? Well, remember Berkeley's a bishop, and so he's going to say this. God keeps all of those things in his mind all the time, right? God is what he's going to call a super perceiver. And so things still exist. Things don't just wink out of existence when no one's thinking about them, because God is always thinking about everything. All of us, in fact, are ideas in God's mind, and that's why we exist. That's going to come out in a later of the three dialogues, right? Remember, we only read the first one. But there's maybe some plausibility to that, right? This view does seem crazy, but of course Berkeley thinks that it's common sense. So what's our takeaway message from crazy Bishop Berkeley's view? Well, he's going to say the following. He's going to say we can't perceive anything but ideas of basic, immediate qualities. Right? Only simple ideas, basically, are what we perceive. And he's going to agree with Locke here. So he's going to say we have no reason to think there's anything else than just these qualities out there in the world, because we have no evidence, right? What would the evidence be? If we could see more than that, well, then it would be sensed, right? It would be simple ideas. There's no other way that we could have evidence, right? They're not required. So we know all of these qualities only exist in minds, according to Berkeley. That gives us no evidence for and no reason to think that physical, material stuff actually exists in the world. Only ideas and minds. So could we have been so wrong? Could our common sense view be crazy? Well, maybe. Right? This is something to talk about on the forums. This is the big idea behind Berkeley, and something that still keeps philosophers talking today. Not a lot follow Berkeley, but some do. So I look forward to hearing what you all have to think about it on the discussion boards. Have a great week.